Hey guys, welcome back to HotS Thoughts. I know it's been a while since I've posted any videos. I've honestly been not in a great place, so it's been difficult for me to get much work done, but I'm doing better now, and I am pretty sure from now on. Actually, you know what? I am 3 times a week. I'm gonna be releasing these videos Monday, Wednesday, Friday. That is a guarantee. So I'm gonna get back on the horse. I'm gonna start doing things and hopefully give you guys a lot more content. So today I want to talk about Kharazim. Kharazim is one of my favorite heroes. He's obviously not my Bay. Illidan is my one and only Bay forever and ever. I love Illidan so much. But I have come to really love Kharazim, and he's become the second most played hero that I have. So originally when he first came out, I was really excited because I was like, oh, this is great. I love mobile heroes. This will be a lot of fun. It'll be just like playing Illidan, and I'll just dash all over the place and all kinds of cool stuff. But in actuality, when I got to playing him, he was not quite as mobile as I thought. And he ended up having a lot of problems where people could literally, like, if you dash them, they could literally just walk away and take no damage. So that was a bit upsetting because I couldn't chase them. That's what I want to do. That's what I do with Illidan, is I just chase people forever. But I have since then learned to really like him. I went on a huge winning streak early on, and since then I've been playing him not only as a support but also as an assassin. Originally I did kind of a hybrid build, but now I've been doing this Bruiser build with Iron Fist, which I'm going to talk about quite a bit in this podcast. So I'm just going to go through some of the tips, tricks, things that I found that work on him, as well as discussing some of the builds and why they're good, why they're not, etc. So first of all, I wanted to talk about the changes to Iron Fist, because that's one of the things that makes him unique, is the fact that Kharazim can kind of pivot between two different roles. He can be both a support, or he can be an assassin, or he can kind of be somewhere in between, because he heals both times, either way, right? So it's possible to do kind of hybrid builds, or to go very bruisery, deal a lot of auto attack damage, or just be like a full support and deal tons of healing. So the change to Iron Fist was really kind of a turning point for that. That was back in the Cho'Gall patch, I believe. And basically what it did was it changed his percentage crits. Every third attack, it went from 100%, dealing 100% extra damage, to 125% extra damage. Now, it doesn't seem a lot, but it honestly is what made Iron Fist quite viable. And it made it a lot more powerful and very strong. So that's one of the reasons that we get to see him pivot between these roles. If we look at his win rates, so here's his win rate over time. This is in Hero League, so this is back in August when he was first introduced, and he started out pretty decently. Obviously, all of this is over like 2% to like right below 50%, so it's only like a 3% deviation. This looks like a big up and down graph, but it's not that much. I think the biggest thing to note is that he's pretty much, for the most part, stayed above 50% in Hero League throughout the past 3 months. So he's always been a good healer. Even when he was first introduced, he was pretty balanced, he was pretty strong. And he's always been pretty good. If you look at Quick Match, I think it only shows this week. Yeah, it only shows this week. He's had a slight dip, but again, this is only like a 2% difference. It's not a big deal. So he's been a pretty solid hero. If we look at his talent choices, I'm gonna go into more detail about different builds and stuff, but as you can see, Transcendence is still far and away the most popular. This is over the last 7 days, but it's for sure the most popular, with Iron Fist being taken sometimes. I don't know who in the world takes Insight. We'll talk about that some more. Protective Shield and Healing Ward are pretty big. So if you look at some of these numbers, you can see that quite a bit of them. No, go away. I can't make this go away. Anyways, you can see that he has some pretty go-to talent choice, like 87.7%. That's pretty much like you have to go this talent choice, right? And these two, 32, 40%, while the other ones are 10, 15. That's quite a big difference. Echo of Heaven is 82%. That's pretty huge. Divine Palm, 60%. That's pretty strong, even though you can technically use both. Level 13 is quite varied, so that's good. He's got some talent diversity there. Circle of Life, 63%. Storm Shield, 50% over. The next one is 25% lower. So you can see that there's some pretty big, there's some pretty obvious build paths. But what I'm going to talk about today is how he has a lot of actual interesting little nuances that you can do. You can do a lot of interesting things. So if we go to the talent calculator here, so the basic healing build that you do with him is going to be Transcendence, then you go Protective Shield, Echo of Heaven, Divine Palm, and then typically Relentless is actually the choice here, followed by Circle of Life and Storm Shield, or Peaceful Repose. I think Peaceful Repose is actually better. So I'll explain this build real quick. So first of all, you get Transcendence, which every third attack heals a nearby ally. So that's really, really important, because that's what gives you a large portion of your healing. At level 4, you can get Protective Shield or Healing Ward. Both are really, really good for support roles. Obviously, Healing Ward isn't quite as good anymore, especially since it dies almost instantly. The Protective Shield is good. It's also good for protecting yourself. Overtake is not so great with the healing build because you're not looking to kite people. You're not looking to try to catch up to them and chase them down. You're honestly just looking to heal up teammates and keep them alive. Foresight can be pretty good if you want to go up against stealth characters, but it's typically not great in the healing build unless you really have... Okay, let me backtrack there. Foresight I don't think is a great ability at all, honestly, because the reveal area is really small. It can be annoying for Zeratul in particular, but once he has Wormhole, that's less of an issue. I don't find Foresight particularly useful. I would rather have Protective Shield, or I would rather have Protective Shield against an Invisible. You counter some of that burst. Level 7, Echo of Heaven is chosen almost 100% of the time, even over Cleanse, and this is kind of a departure from a lot of other heroes that a lot of other support heroes that have the chance to pick Cleanse. I think the only other support hero that like will not take Cleanse even if it's necessary is Brightwing, because Brightwing I believe has the Phase Shield at level 7, and the Phase Shield ends up being just so gigantic of a shield that it doesn't even matter if there's a cleanse or not. Like, that's just not important. And that's the same case with Kharazim. Echo of Heaven actually increases your healing by such an insane margin that the cleanse is actually not necessary, even if you're up against something like a Murky with Octograb or something like that. Pardon me 1 second. My cat. Level 10, we picked Divine Palm. The reason for Divine Palm is that it helps people survive. You can alternatively pick Seven-Sided Strike. There are different ways of using it. The Divine Palm, you always want to save a dash. You always want to have 1 dash up at all times, so that if anybody gets low, you can dash to them and immediately Divine Palm. The range is really small. It's like, I want to say it's like, trying to think of a good comparison. I don't know. It's a very small range. So you have to be almost, I mean, it's almost, I guess, like Zeratul Void Prison range now. It's almost melee range. You have to be right up on them. So you have to dash to them in order to get the Divine Palm off correctly. You want to make sure you generally do it right before someone's about to die. But you can also do this preemptively. You can use it somewhat like a Divine Shield, in the sense that if someone gets octograbbed and the entire other team looks like they're about to focus down that hero, you can, instead of waiting for them to almost die, or if the other team has so much burst that there's no way you could possibly save that person if you waited, you can just automatically dash them, Divine Palm them when they're at half health, And if the other team backs off instantly, then that person walks away with half health, and then you just heal them up with 1W. Whereas if you can wait for them to die and try to do that, but you may also put yourself in danger. And if the other team does keep attacking you, even with the Divine Palm on, then you save them anyway. But you save them a lot earlier and don't put yourself in danger doing so. The key to using Divine Palm well, I think, is to make sure that you're not using it on people that are going to die no matter what. Because that's one of the biggest mistakes that people make, is they tend to... They see an ally that's in trouble that stayed way, way, way late in an engagement, and they'll run back, they'll dash to them in Divine Palm, they'll save them, and then that person will die immediately again. And you might die too. So that's not a great use of it. You want to use it in engagements, typically on tanks and people that are pretty hard to kill. Because if the entire enemy team uses everything that they've got to kill a tank, and then you just revive him, then it's a huge waste on their part, and they're in a lot of trouble. So it can be really, really, really good in those situations. You can save it for squishies, but squishies are typically backline assassins, things of that nature, are more difficult to save than the tanks. 7-sided strike you can use alternatively, even with the support build. The important thing is you have to get people isolated, because it will do 7 times 7, it will do 7% of their health times 7. And if you isolate one person, that's 49% of their health. That's half their health. Whereas if it hits 2 people, then it hits both of them for about 25%, which is, that's all right, but it's not great. And if you hit 3 people, it basically does nothing at all. You want to make sure you're always isolating people with this. Make sure you're positioning yourself so that you're only hitting one person. It's the best tank buster in the game because it's percentage based. So against, for instance, a Cho'Gall, if you can isolate a Cho'Gall, you can just burn him down for 50% of his health. It doesn't matter if that 50% is like 4,000, 5,000 health. That's half his health. It's gone. So it is really, really good for tanks. And in general, you can use it against single tank compositions and just completely obliterate them. Because the single tank will be in there by themselves, pretty much already isolated, and then you just kill them off and the other team has no tank. So it's very good against those sorts of compositions. At 13, typically Relentless is taken, and the reason for that is it just makes Kharazim really slippery. He's a hero that is... He's already very slippery with all of his dashes and his heals, but he's very weak to CC, much like Illidan and a lot of other melee assassins. So if he gets locked down, it's very easy to kill him. But with Relentless, you have the duration of all of these silent stuns, slows, etc., and it allows you to keep moving through everything. Now, if you don't really necessarily need Relentless, you can take Quicksilver. Quicksilver is another really good choice, in the sense that it allows you to support your heroes a little bit better. You can do a little combo where if someone's trying to retreat from somebody, you can dash to them and then heal them and then run away. And the 30% bonus on Quicksilver plus the 10% bonus from your Breath of Heaven will actually give them 40% movement speed, and they'll move away really quickly. They'll get away very, very safely. So that's a pretty solid talent to get if you want to help your allies retreat and move around in battle a little bit better. Alternatively, you can also take Spell Shield if you're up against a lot of mage stuff that's just tearing you apart. But typically, Relentless is the standard. Fist of Fury can be done. I don't think it's as good on the healing build as the others, but there are arguments for Fist of Fury there. Circle of Life is usually taken at 16. The reason why you take Circle of Life is because with Echo of Heaven, you do some insane healing, like just out of this world, ungodly, insane healing. It's like actually just unbelievable how much healing you can do with that, especially if you get the entire team in there. If you get the entire team, then it heals for an extra 50%. Actually, I guess it's 40% because it doesn't count you. So it heals for an extra 40% on top of the original heal, and then it heals for another 50%. So overall, you almost heal 200% of your W It's almost like having a second W instantly. So it's quite good. It's quite good. Soothing Breeze is not that great because it doesn't remove stuns. It's not a very good cleanse. Originally I was a big proponent of Soothing Breeze, but it's not very good, and it doesn't proc with the second Echo of Heaven, second breath. So it's not great. Lightning Speed and Blazing Fists are both very aggressive options, and I don't like them so much with the healing build. And then finally at level 20, you have either Peaceful Repose or Storm Shield. Typically you take Peaceful Repose because that allows you to preemptively use Divine Palm a lot, and there's nothing that people can do about that. You can preemptively use Divine Palm, and if they don't die, it's up 5 seconds later, and you're good. You don't have to disengage and wait 90 seconds for the Divine Palm to come back up again. So it's very good for that reason. You can also alternatively take Storm Shield. I think Peaceful Repose is a little bit better, but Storm Shield is also pretty viable. It's good for its own uses. If you take Seven-Sided Strike, you can go Transgression. I think Transgression's still good. Though typically, as a support build, you technically need to be healing your allies and attacking so that Transcendent heals them, and being there to Echo of Heaven low allies. So the extra time that you have to sit in Transgression is usually a little bit subpar to Storm Shield. Epiphany is okay, but I don't recommend it for this build just because it does not... You don't need the 2 charges of Radiant Dash and extra mana. You're typically pretty high on mana anyway, and your Radiant Dashes shouldn't be down all the time because you shouldn't be dashing much. There is an interesting little hybrid build that I discovered way back when Kharazim was released, and I did this for quite a while until Iron Fist was buffed. And that was Transcendence, Protective Shield, Way of the 100 Fists, Seven-Sided Strike, Relentless, Blinding Speed, then Transgression. Now this is a nice little build that basically takes the healing from the monk. You basically just take this first straight Transcendence, which allows you to continue healing people, and you also have your W. And then everything from that is ways to be aggressive. The Protective Shield, while it can also be used on your allies, is typically used on yourself so that you can be a little bit more aggressive and soak up 15% more of your health and damage. We have the 100 Fists allows you to kill confirm a lot better because you can dash to people and kill them. You have Seven-Sided Strike. Relentless, again, because you want to be slippery. If you're a melee assassin, especially, you really need that tenacity. And that's also, anecdotally, why Metamorphosis and Wrath of the Berserker are so good, is because they have this Relentless built into them. Blinding Speed. You get Blinding Speed that combos well with Way of the 100 Fists. It gives you an extra dash and shortens the cooldown, so you can get the damage in Way of the 100 Fists off a lot more often. And then usually Transgression. Sometimes you can go Epiphany, but typically Transgression. The reason why Epiphany is good here is just because you are using the dashes quite a bit. And with Blinding Speed plus Way of the 100 Fists, you can actually chase someone down and kill them in a pretty scary fashion. So this is what I was using for a while, and I liked this quite a bit. Obviously, you can't do this if your team really needs the healing. If your team really needs the support and the healing, you have to go for the Echo of Heaven plus Circle of Life. Like, that's too important. But if you have a team that's full of sustain, if you have something like a Leoric and like a Thrall and Johanna, Murdered, I don't know, people who don't need a lot of babysitting. I would say even Kael'thas doesn't really need a lot of babysitting, because if you're with those people, you can focus a little bit more on doing damage and a little less on healing, because you know that they'll be mostly taken care of. And even if they aren't, you still have some healing to provide to them. So it was a pretty good build, and it did quite a bit of damage. But since the Iron Fist was buffed, I am now starting to run this new build. It's Iron Fists, Overtake, Echo of Heaven, Seven-Sided Strike, and then Fist of Fury, Circle of Life, Transgression. So this is a little bit different. This prioritizes the E talents a little bit more. Some of the Deadly Reach talents. I can never remember what that ability is called. Deadly Reach. So it increases some of the Deadly Reach talents. It allows you to do quite a bit more damage. You still want to take the Echo of Heaven and Circle of Life talents because that allows you to still sustain yourself quite a bit. Like if we look back at the other one, we had Transcendence plus Protective Shield, and that was all of our sustain. But with Iron Fist, if we do that, and then we take Wave of the 100 Fists plus Blinding Speed or something like that, or Blazing Fists, if we take those talents, we end up having very, very little sustain in comparison, and you end up dying really, really quickly. So Echo of Heaven, Circle of Life, both of those are pretty important. There are times when you can take Blazing Fists if you really don't need the extra healing. And Blazing Fist just means you can proc your E over and over and over and over. And you can actually do some pretty insane damage, especially siege damage. If you get on top of a fort or something like that, you basically have your E up almost all the time, and you just continually punch it. I believe with Blazing Fist, there's a 2-second cooldown in between E's if you're just continually auto-attacking. So it's kind of ridiculous. And the thing about this build is it does a lot of damage, and it also provides a lot of sustainability for your team. So it can be used as kind of like a melee assassin / support role. Think of it kind of, I would liken it kind of to a Tyrande Owl build. If you think about the Tyrande Owl build, or even a Tyrande auto attack build, Tyrande does quite a bit of damage, and if you build her towards the damagey side, like you did before she became a full-time healer, if you run Tyrande as a secondary support, what you can do with her is you can build her for a lot of damage, but she still does have a heal, and if she goes Shadowstalk, she still does have a decent heal on her. You can do that sort of thing, but this is also something that you can do with Monk, I think, as well. You can build him towards damage, but still have these 2 healing talents. And he still does quite a bit of healing with them, but his main focus is doing a lot more damage. So it can be really good in situations like that. He's kind of treated like a melee assassin, but he also does lend that kind of extra support. Especially if you have a team that needs a little bit more healing. Say, for instance, if you pair him like with another melee assassin, like Butcher or Thrall or something like that, you can do quite a bit of work because they both do a lot of damage, and the double sustain actually helps quite a bit. Alright. Excuse me. Voice starting to give out. So the other thing that I wanted to talk about is I just want to talk about some of the different tactics that you can use. In lane, there's a lot of different ways that you can face off against people. Obviously, most of your damage comes from your E, from Deadly Reach. When you use Deadly Reach, you gain attack speed for a little while, and it does a lot more damage. But you can't... The problem with Deadly Reach is it's very easy for people to literally just walk away. You can attack into somebody, and they'll just walk away. If they stand there and fight, they will end up losing that trade usually, because you can out-sustain them if you have Transcendence, and plus having the Breath of Heaven. If you have Iron Fist, you're definitely going to win that trade against almost anybody. It's pretty insane. Like, I'm pretty sure Kharazim beats Raynor in terms of auto attack damage in small trades. So if they stay there, if they stand still, they're gonna get destroyed. But the problem that Kharazim runs into is people can literally just walk away or even just kite away, and they end up doing a lot better and receiving a lot less damage. So one of the tactics that I've been using is in lane you can press E beforehand to activate Deadly Reach, and then dash your opponent, and you'll hit them with an auto attack, and then you'll immediately start attacking within melee range, and you'll as they try to run away, it'll do a little bit more damage because you have that extended range. You can, alternatively, you can use another Radiant Dash to dash to them again and get the full duration of your Deadly Reach off. Or if you want to play safe, you can just hit them as many times as possible and then just hit the wave, clear some of the wave, just push them off the wave. So it's a pretty cool tactic you can do. And then at the end, obviously, you use a W if you take damage, and you just heal back up again. So that's pretty solid. Another interesting tactic that you can use for retreating, I think. Retreating is... So I explained the Quicksilver thing, where you can dash to an opponent, use Breath of Heaven, and you move back quite quickly. But there's also other ways to peel for your allies. If your ally is running away, they're running away from, you know, the rest of the team, they're running away, and you're over here on the safe side, you can dash to them and heal them up, and then stand there and let them pass you, and then start attacking the opponents. And if you can draw some of the aggro towards you, then you can dash to your ally again, and all of the aggro is back here now, and you've created space between you and the enemy. You can do that sort of thing. That's the same kind of thing that Brightwing will do. You'll often see Brightwing, if she goes Blink Heal, she'll come with an ally and then kind of split off to try to split some of the aggro, and if people go on her, then she'll Blink Heal to the other person, and then they'll just walk away safely. So that's the sort of thing that you want to be thinking about, is finding different ways to pull your opponents away from your allies and peel for them like that. And making good advantage of your Radiant Dash. You should usually never be the last, or you shouldn't usually never be retreating faster than your allies as Kharazim. Kharazim can stay a little bit later. Obviously not to the point of stupidity where you're dying to like a stun or something like that, but you can stay a little bit later than your allies, have them retreat first, and just dash to them and get out safely. I think, oh, one more super important point is one of the things that Kharazim is actually pretty good at is body blocking if you do it correctly. So one of the things that I see people doing wrong is they will typically, as they're chasing somebody, they'll dash to them and then try to kite them forward and try to keep doing damage to them as the other person is retreating. What you want to do, ideally, is if there's a minion wave or somebody behind that person that you're trying to chase, you want to dash to that instead and get behind them. If you can dash to someone behind them, then you can stand there and you can body block while kiting to do maximum damage and also help out your team a lot more. So that's a really good tactic that not a lot of people do. Bakery does it quite a lot, and that's one of the things that he showed in his guide. It's quite good. So I guess moral of the story is you need to use your mobility to the best of your ability. And that's something that a lot of Kharazims don't think about. You always want to save one dash for an escape. You have two dashes. One is always offensive, one is always the escape or utility if you need to save it for Divine Palm or something like that. But always never use your last dash to dash aggressively unless you know for a fact that you're in a safe place and you're not gonna overextend. So that's the key role for Kharazim. Like I said, it's really interesting that he can pivot between assassin and support, and both are very interesting to play. If you want these builds, just let me know. And actually, you know, I'm gonna post them down below the video so that you guys can look at them and study them. Both are quite good, both are pretty powerful. I think most people know about the support build, but not so much about the Bruiser build. So I'll try to make that available and help people understand how good that is. That's pretty much it for now. If you guys have any ideas, concerns, whatever, just let me know in the comments down below. That's all. I am going to be back with more videos later this week, and I'll see you guys then. Later.